Hello, how are you?
Okay.
I was thinking we could start with Aitachi, so whenever you're ready.
When your dad was milking cows for my folks, there was another milker there who was the son of my dad's first cousin in the old country. His name was Sebastian Lespade. Sebastien Lespade, Lespade. And Sebastian was a tall, good-looking guy. He's now deceased, but he later had a dairy, and he was kind of in Basque we say serricaca. Serricaca literally means pig shit, but a serricaca is a guy that's like always kind of joking around or kind of teasing under the weeds kind of guy. You know, he was that fun loving guy, but whatever. And your grandfather, of course, was more straight ahead. Fun loving, but he was not the same kind of personality. Your Yonesh was far more direct. Okay, and Yonesh was actually more personality wise like my own father, but your grandfather was really quick on his feet. I mean, they could run, and they were just wiry. And I mean, I remember, and I may have told you this before too. Later in life, when Jeanette and I were married and our own kids were born, we'd go to dinner with Moshe and Pla and your grandparents at the Centro Vasco, and we'd be singing together. Your grandfather and I used to sing a lot together with Moshe, and then afterwards he would just be so happy that he would be standing in the parking lot before we said goodnight, and he would just jump. He would like jump and jump up. He was so energetic and wiry, and we used to laugh at Yonesh. He would just jump up in the air with happiness. It was funny. So my mom would cook, and she was a great cook, and she kind of, those guys were like uh, little brothers to her, because my mom was born in 1920, so she was not that much older than your grandfather, but he would be, and then he was the kind of guy where after lunch or dinner, even though he'd been working a full day, and even though he would help her, he would dry the dishes. He was that kind of a guy, just helpful, and one day she said there's a window facing out of the house to the south on campus down to Chino Avenue. You can see Chino Avenue, and my mom had made a bet. Sebastian and Yonesh said, she knew that Yonesh was 10 times faster on his feet than Sebastian, and so she said, you guys should foot race down to Chino Avenue. Whichever one of you wins gets ice cream. So they take off, and of course, Juanes hauls out, and he's way out ahead. And Sebastian ran about 10 steps and stopped. He said, the hell with it, because he knew Juanes couldn't see where he was, so he just kept going. He got all the way down to Chino Avenue, turned around, and Sebastian was just laughing. And then your grandfather used to say, yeah, and after we came back in, your mom still gave us both ice cream. Aww. I don't know if you know this story, but he knew he had been losing hay. And one night, he was sleeping real light or whatever, and he heard a pickup or saw a pickup come in, and he grabbed a shotgun, and he walked down there quietly. The pickup had pulled into the shed from the street, and the pickup was in there, and when he walked up to snuck into the barn, the guy was in there in the haystack, knocking down another bale to throw in his pickup. And Yonesh used to, I've heard the story 100 times from your grandfather. He used to tell it, you stop right there, you son of a bitch. And he says, this is not the first time, they couldn't say it first, this is not the first time that you come to my place. And says, oh, yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is, sir. This is the first time. That's what you says, but I don't have to believe that. He says, now, you put that hay right back where you found it. So the guy started, he's in the pickup, and he's grabbing the hay and throwing it down on the ground there by the thing. He says, that's not where you found it. He's got the shotgun pointed at him, and the guy now is with a hay hook dragging the bales back up from where he knocked them down. And the guy's about shitting his pants. And finally, the guy then is dragging the bale up and he falls. He falls out of the haystack. And he's lying there. He says, "That's exactly what you deserve it, you son of a bitch." He had never played handball before. He was, always worked. He was not from a community where they played handball, but he liked it. He wanted to learn. And then as Jean-Michel was, growing up, he introduced him to it, this and that. But he was there, and one day they were kind of, Dennis Petroson's, they were kind of laughing about Juanes, playing handball at that age, just learning. And I said, "Yeah, you guys laugh, but I'll tell you what, I would bet any one of you," until Dennis was the one laughing, I said, $100 for a 100-yard dash against Juanes. "Oh, come on, no. I said, "Come on, no, I'm serious. You guys laugh." I said, $100 right now, and I'll tell him. He'll do it for me. I'll tell him right now. And then they backed off. They didn't do it. He couldn't beat him. Yeah, true story.
And my memory of Juanes was he seemed to be tough and rough, but he really wasn't. Maceline had him around her little finger, and he did everything for her. He was really good to his wife.
Juanes was a very good man and good hunter. A good worker first.
Yes, I know. Hard worker.
Yeah.
Hard worker, big time.
Hard worker.
Yeah.
Otto Juanes, we went hunting very often, every year in fact, for pheasant towards Fresno. Every November we'll go together, and he had a dog by the name of Queenie.
Queenie.
Who was very, 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 very good dog for hunting. And when that dog died, he told me, "I would prefer to lose the best cows in my barn than that dog," because that dog was terrific. Juanes and I, we play moose. He was the best, one of the best to pass the sign when he had something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, like Kinuka? Or?
He was very good at that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you have to pass the sign that the adversary can see it.
Right.
Otherwise, they know what you have it.
When I think about the Indaburus, Juanes and Maceline, there's one word that comes to mind always, and that's generous. These people were generous beyond. Back in the day, the dairymen in Chino would often have dinners, quite often have many dinners, at the Pyrenees and at the Centro Vasco. And invariably, I would be invited. Why, I'm not sure. I never had a dairy, but they always thought to include me. And so unnecessary and yet so appreciated. In 1978, my brother, Mitch Garidor, and Kathy Bashuk at the time, and I went to the Basque Country on a Basque Studies program. After the studies were finished, we had 2 or 3 weeks on the Basque side of where our families were from, in the Doñana area. And so we would often run into the Basque from Chino that were also there visiting. And one afternoon, my brother, Kathy, Anna Marie, who was about 4 or 5 at the time, and I went to see a handball game in Doñana, and we ran into Juanes and Marceline and Linda and Jean. And we watched the game, and then we talked a little bit to them, and they invited us out to dinner. Again, so unnecessary and yet so appreciated. It was really such a nice evening to spend just with them, and I'll never forget it.
One of the things that really touched me about Ocho Juanes, because Ocho Juanes, he was like a man's man. He didn't show a lot of emotion until I was going to be studying abroad, and we went out to dinner somewhere with them right before I was supposed to leave. And, we went out to dinner just like it was like a farewell,
Oh.
And before I left for Paris. And before, when we were saying goodbye, he started to cry.
Yeah, he
and,
was.
Oh, he was so emotional. And
He was emotional.
I wasn't I was taken aback by that, and it really, like, to this day, I remember it. It was just, it's a very, it was very touching.
Okay, how about we talk about Machi Betty next?
And we used to have fun playing bunco and playing moose. When we get together at all the houses and play moose. We laughed with her all the time. When we'd go to her house to pick her up and take her to whosever house it was that they were having the bunco, she had that one dog. I don't care for dogs, but anyway, I went up to the door and I went in, and that dog would come up to me and up to my ankles and was smelling and trying to get me, And so anyway, the one time it bit me, and I told Betty, I said, "Your dog is mean," and so then I had Lorano was at Tina's house because I had taken him over there, and so when I went back to Tina's to pick him up, I looked at my leg and it was bleeding because he bit through my pants. And I thought, man, I couldn't believe it. And so I told her, and she just laughed. She says, but it was such a nice dog, Yeah. But she'd always say it wasn't a mean dog. It was a nice dog. But I told her not to me, it wasn't, So, yeah. So anyway, she was such a nice person and a hard worker.
Yes.
She was very. So anyway, we just had good times together.
I grew up with Betty. Betty introduced my parents together. Betty took Mom to the Centro Basco for one of their monthly dinners, and that's where she met, or dances, and that's where she met our dad. And I know Betty and Gilliam and my parents, they would go together, and so we always had a special kinship. Betty was my mom's best friend in high school. Betty and Mom competed in sports, but Betty always won. Betty was very competitive, and she was just a natural. I remember growing up young, going to the house on Schaefer. Betty would make the best pancakes, and she'd always ask what flavor you wanted. She had these old syrups, and so it was really fun.
My most memorable thing about my sister-in-law Betty was the twinkle in her eyes, so full of mischief and devilment. At one of our family gatherings at the Schaefer and Palmetto home, all the adults were at the big table and the kids at the kids' table, except for Betty. She was sitting with the kids at the kids' table with the friskiest grin on her face. Then there are all the golfing times, so competitive and proud of doing well. She was just such a great lady and is missed by all.
Well, Betty, she was just about a couple years younger than me, and her folks used to have a party at the dairy with a bunch of people. And I remember one time it had just rained, and there was a puddle of water, mud. And she got a glove and just threw it in my dress, and I thought it was a pretty dress. It was a blue dress. She just slung it to me. We were playing, but we were good friends after that. That didn't bother us. She was tough. I remember her picking up calves. She just lift them up like a man. She did a wonderful job with her children. I mean, it must have been rough, but they all loved her. It's a good thing they had her.
When it comes to Betty Iriart, she will always and forever be my coach. One year back in, I think it was the early 80s, there was a girls' softball team, and I use the term loosely because I was a part of that. But she was a coach, and we go out every Sunday afternoon or evening, I think it was, and we'd play. And she'd be out there telling us what to do, what not to do, and I'm sure she had a few choice words when it came to my play. However, she was the coach, and for many, many years after that, every time I'd see her, I'd say, "Hey, Coach," and she'd look at me at first, and then she'd just start laughing.
Do I remember Maceline? Maceline was my sister. not only neighbor or cousin, but my sister. We grew up together. Maceline's mother was my mother, and our mother was Maceline's mother. We are like brothers and sisters. So I was their wedding day. Few days later, they lived to America, and 2 or 3 years later, I followed her again. Then I was a neighbor again. I was your sister again in Chino. And then Maceline, she became my mother after all. When I was missing my mother, and I was needing as a mother, she became my mother. She took me home when I was very sick. So right now, my heart is crying with all those remembers. So I love her so much, and I'm keeping her in my heart.
I remember going down to Maceline's house every year for Chino picnic, sleeping either in Linda's bed or in Jean-Michel's bed, having croissants and hot chocolate every morning, driving down with Maceline in the big old town car, either to Central Basco or the fairgrounds.
I remember Maceline from when they started dating. Aita was coming on the jeep to Ollantoro. We used to run after the jeep. We were so happy to see him going up. We can put all our backpacks and everything in the jeep, and we run after the jeep. And then I remember when they got married, and when they went to the United States. We were kind of sad because we didn't have that jeep anymore. That was our favorite thing, the jeep. And then when I came to the state in 1970, of course, we had to go see Maceline. That was the first thing I want to see. And since then, we had such good memories. We did a lot together. She was a very nice woman. I love her. I still miss her. We really enjoy her. She was such a wonderful woman, and I enjoy her. And one thing we really remember, the good chingareta rulze tripota we used to have in the morning. We never forget those. And that wasn't all. So many things. Love you all.
Went to work in Soulac in Bordeaux, in Gironde. Maceline went first, and then 15 days after I went, because they needed somebody else. And we had a lot of fun. The bosses, they were great people, and like a family. So we started playing the envelope bed.
So you short-sheeted people's beds.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So we put the four corner of the sheet.
I can't believe they did that. I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
Pranksters.
And when they want to go to bed, they could not open the sheets.
Right, they couldn't put their feet in, yeah.
No.
Oh my God.
They could not. And then was a lot of the military base there, and a lot of people come to that hotel. And yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mysterious.
I know. Okay.
Ameriketara jinezalarik enien neo ezagutzen. Baina laster ukanien xantza enesenaran medioz ezagutzeko Juanes Indaburu bolsunaiztara haren auzo errikoa zen eta haren emaztia Maceline bankara. Hare bazuen kusi bat bidare nire herrian eta jada banakiena segisetako maztua zen Maceline eta biziki fite adiskiditu ginen. Eta gero hasi ginen, elgarrekin joiten ginen afaitera, hartzen ginen palan, trinketian, eta hola. Eta denbora bagineilaik, weekendetan, joiten ginen shopping. Biek maite ginen shopping. Eta gure lekuik maitena zena Glenderen galeria. Eta jara joaitea azkeoz bisita bat egiten gineena intxospe familiari. Pikonika egiten zelarik, plazer bat zen Marcelinekin lanean hartzea. Beti pretzean ideia bera ginteena, eta txino bazko klebetane olo-ola eguardetan jatekoa eta atxalde hon bat pasten geneen elgarrekiena. Urte hori dena joan dira, eta hola, aintzina segi dezagun aldu, no?
One of the first things I remember of Marceline was her being involved with making the Basha Danza costumes. And what, Chino was one of the first, well, besides Los Banos, we had these costumes directly from France, and all these ladies got together and with their talents made these costumes, and it was quite the big deal. To this day, they still use the costumes, and we really appreciated all her work that they did. I also remember all the big family dinners that you would see all of the Basque families at, Indaburu's, there'd be the Motion Plaza, and this group of friends were so tight that it was just amazing. And you think back now, it was really pretty amazing that they all would spend, no matter what it was, you always saw a big group together, and Maceline and Juanes were always in the center of it. I also remember how much they worked for the Chino Basque Club. They were one of the first members, and Maceline back in the kitchen, slaving away, but always smiling, laughing, and brings back, you really realize now being a part of the board of directors of the Basque Club on what hard work they did. They didn't even have hot water at that time, and no kitchen, but they always served up a great meal, and that was really fun.
My memory of Marceline and Juanes include, we used to have dinner with a few families together at the hotel on Friday nights and Sunday nights. We were Mr. and Mrs. Indaburu, Apasechas, Moshes and Plas, Biscay Chipis, and we always gathered together every Friday and Sunday. And Marceline, she was a jewel in my mind. She was a very good person, helpful. I remember the time when I wasn't with my sister, she would take care of her, walk her to the car, and she was really good. She was really good to us. I really do miss her. I really do.
Really, truly wonderful people, and I'm really very blessed that I had them in my life.